Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Wednesday, May 8th, and before we start, let's jump into the solo adventure and just see if the new expansion has come out, and no it hasn't, no surprise there. At this point I've kind of given up on even checking. That being said, we do have a special Tavern Brawl daily quest. Play the Tavern Brawl 3 times, so hopefully one would hope that this means the Tavern Brawl is going to be particularly easy. Otherwise this is going to be a nightmare. It'll be even worse of a nightmare, I suppose, also if I can't pick Rogue or Hunter or Mage, because then I'll have to do at least this and this. I would say you kind of need to get this daily quest done because this is a legendary top tier daily quest, even though it's not really shown that way. It probably should have like a dragon shape on top of it to show that, hey, this is a special daily quest because you're getting a card pack. So let's see what this is and hop in here. The League of Evil is hosting henchmen auditions. Do what it takes. You choose who you'd like to work for and get a bonus. Okay. So these are different characters. You have Mr. Chu, a personal safety specialist, as in he breaks people's legs, I assume. I guess they're trying to introduce each of these characters and they'll get a few lines of dialogue before the single player expansion. But I am frankly getting a little worried with Activision Blizzard not dropping the ball so much that this single player expansion may never come out at all. We have Candlebeard, Candle and Eye Patch Enthusiast. I think we've seen that character or something like it. Myra Rotsprings, scientifically proven to be deadly. George the Fallen, lost without Carl. Manhunter Ivan, hunting without a permit. A lot of these are the exact same characters with just a slight spin on them. Voodoo Master Vex. Who do you do what? Remind me of Vex. Russell Labard. He here to write an evil anthem. Sephora Dusk Talon. She's got claws that catch. And Wraith. Ghost Song, just darn creepy. Okay, so we need the Hunter character, and I don't think that breaks down this way. Because this, like, each of these have different abilities. This one is technically a mage, I would assume by the blue color, and it has shuffle, I can't even read it, a explosive into your opponent's deck. This is, I think, a mage too, but it looks like a rogue. They all have a blue banner on their ability. That's weird. Okay. Well, one of these has got to be a rogue. Let's see if this will play rogue class cards. Because we kind of don't have any other options. So let's just start with that and hop into a game. We've got a few stories that are getting reported quite a lot, but we are definitely still in the E3, pre-E3 slump of not a lot of news, actual video game wise. There's certainly some games that came out on Steam, but not really a lot of great ones. Okay, these are rogue class cards, so we want to just trade out these for something else. And I started playing Axiom Verge, and for the first time in, quite frankly, probably far too long, I'm actually having fun. I will say Axiom Verge does feel a little unbalanced. I defeated the first boss and died at the exact same time and didn't see the animation of it exploding, so I just walked through the boss room a second time after I died, and I'm like, oh, he just disappeared. Is that some kind of thing? At the end of your turn, transform a random friendly menu into one that costs one more. Gift. Well, okay, that's nice. That saves us some time, but that didn't do anything for us. Otherwise, I was just not able to play any road cards. Yeah, Axiom Verge, you have to play each room very slowly. And I'm playing on normal, and there is no easy mode. And I'm playing it for the Halloween month, and it kind of only barely falls into that category. It's not really a good example of a game that is so scary that it should be in Halloween month, but it is following playing the Castlevania Lord of Shadow series on Steam, and yes, this is way better. Transform a random minion into one that costs one more. Give all your friendly minions death, or it'll deal 1 or 2 damage. After you play a minion, add a coin to your hand. After you play a spell, get a copy of a random card from each of your opponent's hand. So,
You wish to serve me.
So I'm going to take the transform, and so I picked that. So we're playing as a hero that is auditioning to work for these other League of Evil characters, and the League of Evil is kind of poorly timed because, like, it just reminds me of the Carmen Sandiego Netflix cartoon, which I think that organization was actually called Vile, but there's been plenty of cartoons that have in the past have been the League of Evil, and Evil standard stood for something. Can't do anything at all, so I'll just end the turn. It would have been nicer, quite frankly, if they were more thoughtful and they could lean a little bit heavier into the World of Warcraft lore. This is so generic, and I never really felt like Hearthstone was a kid-friendly or kid-centric game. It's family-friendly, certainly, but I wouldn't expect all the kids that are like 6 to 8 years old playing Fortnite would want to come into Hearthstone and have a great experience. It's too long, quite frankly, to play a Hearthstone game to keep young kids' attention. So if we assume that the target audience that should be targeted for Hearthstone is people 14 and older, at least, calling your organization the League of Evil is just kind of a lazy mental effort. Is there anything else that I have really to say about Axiom Verge right now? It feels like I'm probably close to a third to halfway through the game in one day, basically, of recording. It feels like you're going to also have a decent amount of going back and getting collectibles, and I found quite a few collectibles, although I haven't found as many weapons as it seems like there are in the game. But the different weapons that I have found, the first 4 or 5 that I've found, all do something big enough that as they're getting upgraded in range and damage, I could use them easily to the end of the game. Also, most boss fights, with the exception of the first boss fight, seem to be pretty easy positioning things with 2 or 3 phases at most in the in the battle, and they got one of the boss fights. There's this giant creature, but it doesn't move at all, and there's barriers that block its attack. So all you have to do is stand in the right place or jump in the right place while it's attacking, and you can avoid all the damage completely. And that's what I did. I played it for so long that the background music actually had to loop once. I have no idea what it just said, but I kind of don't care either. Oh, I only have to play 3 Tavern Brawls? That is nice. So I just have to play one more game and I'm done. That might explain why the other guy thought he could disconnect, but I bet that wouldn't count. But maybe it would. So if we can get through these Tavern Brawl elements, which theoretically, if one cared, you would want to play as each of these 9 characters, or at least play 4 times. But frankly, we're at the beginning of the month, or at least closer to the beginning of the month than the end of the month. And this expansion knew it was going to be around Mother's Day, so it's kind of surprising that they don't have something for that. Let's see. Let's try this one.
Hey, are you an applicant or an applicant?
So that, like, I don't know what you specifically do for Mother's Day, but you could integrate it every year. There could be a mother character or something. It's weird how Hearthstone does some events and doesn't do some other holidays. They don't need to do them all, certainly. They're kind of built around the Chinese New Year, and they certainly were pushing very hard they were definitely pushing very hard for the Chinese market, but that seems to be abandoned at this point. And we have stories, and we've been hearing stories for at least 6 months now of why that isn't going to work and doesn't work.
Reporting for duty. Reporting for
so,
duty. Reporting for duty.
We might as well start covering the news, because now that I've realized the daily quests are actually a little bit easier to do, then...
How hard can you hit things?
Let's see.
Job's done.
So let's start with the biggest news. Randy Pitchford and the feud with the voice of Claptrap. I think one point to mention also is the former employee of Gearbox who voiced Claptrap up to this point is not the only voice actor that they didn't bring back, because Gearbox in particular is trying to be, at least in part, trying to be very cheap on its voice acting costs, and it is definitely not using union workers in a lot of jobs, which Gearbox being in Frisco, Texas, and Texas being a not very union friendly state, this is a blatant example of a game that really should have had union voice actors in it. It is a AAA funded by 2K game that is going to have the voice actors that voice their roles read a considerably large amount of dialogue.
My life is your shield.
So that is another issue. I also think it's worth. What was the other fact I wanted to point out? It's also worth mentioning that they are certainly doing a lot to they're certainly doing a lot to. Oh, I just screwed up terribly.
By the light, that's amazing!
They're doing a lot of promotion and advertising with Claptrap, so it would have been clearly wiser if they'd known. And see, this feels like this is very possibly a case of Randy Pitchford not telling 2K that, hey, there's this slight dispute going on and this might blow up. And frankly, it wouldn't have blown up if it weren't for Randy Pitchford tweeting about things he shouldn't be tweeting about again, and we'll get into the details of that. But if you knew that Claptrap was going to be an issue, you could have easily played down his importance or his appearance in the game. Instead, they have very much gone the opposite direction of that. Yeah, they've very much gone the opposite direction in that way, and almost every advertisement has Claptrap. And frankly, for the Borderlands series, Claptrap in Borderlands 2 even was minimalized, so it would have been pretty easy to minimalize him even more and not have him play a big role. It's like you could have certainly written the whole story around Claptrap. Claptrap's been murdered. We're gonna find out who did it and take revenge. That could have been a intriguing start to the trailer, and then that would have gotten rid of Claptrap in a good storytelling way. Instead, it seems like Claptrap is playing the exact role he played in Borderlands 2, and Borderlands 3 in a lot of ways feels like it is exactly just a copy and paste clone of Borderlands. Borderlands 2. Alright, well, I hate this tavern brawl like I hate most tavern brawls.
Guess you really bombed.
But we got lucky and we don't have to play that anymore, so at least for the Americas account. And that gives us a pack here, and there's a decent chance I'll get new cards. Maybe I'd love an epic, certainly, always. But if it's just 4 commons and a rare, I wouldn't be surprised if all of these get dusted. And then all of these are going to be dusted for certain because I have a complete collection. So an epic and a rare and 3 commons. That's not terrible. Now if I got a gold card for the classic collection, there is an argument to keep those gold cards. But it's really just to keep them in case you're nerfed. So that's 10 cards turning into 175 dust. Not terrible. We're getting our dust back up. Arguably maybe there's something I should craft with dust, but I don't even know what I would want to craft because my HSReplay.net decks aren't even winning that well. Alright, so we need a victory with Hunter and Mage, and this is working well enough that we can play ranked because we need to. So, starting this story, I did all the background setup I think that's necessary. Tech Raptor Randy Pitchford in a feud with the voice actor of Claptrap. Another employee is filed a lawsuit filing allegations of embezzlement. That embezzlement has been kind of confirmed by the voice actor of Claptrap. Basically, there was a $12 million bonus that both of them feel should have been in a royalty pool program that is occurring in the private company of Gearbox. Apparently, employees inside of Gearbox agreed to be paid a lower salary. And see, this seems like this is straight up the type of flim-flam shenanigans that a magician would definitely do. So he convinces employees to work at Gearbox for less pay with royalties on the sales of games, paid as a percentage out of the royalty pool. So if the royalty pool has $1 million in it and that has to be split between 100 employees, then every employee would get 1/100th of the $1 million. Depending on, I'm sure it doesn't really work that way. I'm sure they all have slightly different percentages. And it's just really oddly calculated. Now this is a very strange way for a game company to work. I have never in the past heard of the idea of video game developers getting royalties on the sales of the games they make. It is an interesting idea and an appealing idea, assuming people aren't manipulating the numbers. And inherently, whenever royalties are being talked about, people are manipulating the numbers. This is the same as people wanting back-end points, back-end royalty points on movies they create. You never get anything but a few pennies of royalty checks out of that, and there's all kinds of ridiculous Hollywood accounting that claims that movies that have made billions of dollars are actually still not profitable because they calculate in, well, they just kind of manipulate the numbers and cheat, for lack of a more detailed explanation. That being said, that is the system that seems to be in place, and if it is true that Randy Pitchford took $12 million that should have been in that royalty pay pool, that he basically stole directly from all the employees and former employees of Gearbox, and that is one of the allegations that the Claptrap voice actor wants, is he wants backed royalties due for that he feels he's due. And it seems, if unfortunately Randy Pitchford has acted or allowed an air of dishonesty to build around himself to the point where he has no credibility with most people, including myself. So I fully believe that he embezzled $12 million and all the employees at Gearbox are due back royalties. And I wouldn't even be surprised if most of the employees that stay around after the launch of Borderlands 3 are staying around in hopes of getting bonuses and royalty paychecks that very possibly will never actually come. Like, I really do think that at this point nobody at Gearbox probably really wants to work with work with Randy Pitchford, and so since it's a privately owned company and there's no board or any way to kick him out short of straight up lynching him, which I'm not suggesting in any way, or him dying of a heart attack from stress, or him actually committing a crime which would put him behind bars, that there's kind of no way to steal a company out from under of a private owner. So if a new company started in Frisco, Texas, and tried to hire most of those employees, I wouldn't be surprised if a significant amount of people jumped ship, assuming that new company could be funded well enough to guarantee paychecks for 2 to 4 years of development of a new IP. The voice actor for Claptrap had to move to Austin from Frisco, which is quite a distance, to work for Rooster Teeth. So that shows that there's really not a lot of other companies. There is another company in Frisco or around there, but it's clearly not hiring enough to encourage people to shift over to that job. And in all honesty, there's a level of misplaced loyalty that a lot of employees have, where they will just never jump ship even if it is the right move, because it just isn't something they'd never think about, or they don't like the lack of security there.
This guy's toast.
It would be also interesting to see by the end of all the DLC releases and all of that. Alright, let's not play ranked. Let's instead play casual. It'd be interesting to see how many people are still at Gearbox from Borderlands 1, how many people are still at Gearbox from Borderlands 2, because I think that slowly most of the people have left, have moved on to the company, from the company, or at least a lot of the big name people have.
You asked for it.
The story goes on to mention Randy Pitchford lying about the definition of microtransactions, or his definition of microtransactions not being in agreement with anybody else's, and then him flipping out for 16 hours in a Twitter argument. Let's see what else. Like, Randy Pitchford came out on a tweet and said he was offered 2 times scale and he refused. Randy Pitchford apparently also said that another voice actor was offered the voice acting job and he refused, and that voice actor said no, that didn't happen. That might be because they offered it to an agent and the agent refused. I wouldn't be surprised if the similar situation happened for both, if they actually do have voice acting agents. But I suspect the voice of Claptrap actually doesn't have a voice acting agent or any kind of agent, so it would have been a conversation. So there is a difference, certainly, in what is being claimed. Let's see. The voice actor of Claptrap, Eddings, said, I was fine moving on after Gearbox, but when this is the most recent thing so far, and the big next twist in this soap opera, but when my former boss starts malicing off about various aspects of my employment, including how highly compensated I was and how generous he is, I feel obliged to to correct the record. So yeah, as a boss, you really shouldn't be talking about other people's employment at all. It opens you up to quite a few potential lawsuits. Quite frankly. So yeah, you shouldn't be talking about how well or generously offered. Frankly, this is where Randy Pitchford started and invited this conversation. If this was a courtroom, he brought it. He asked the question, so now the question can be answered basically. Had Randy Pitchford simply not responded to random people asking about whether the Claptrap voice actor is coming back for Borderlands 3, or if he had simply just a 2K pre-prepared PR response that he says he just copy and pasted each time to say, this year for this game we're excited to have the new voice actor of Claptrap taking on the role, and not really say anything else. That just a canned, almost no comment, a canned response. That's the way you would have wanted to do it. Let's see. So yeah, Randy Pitchford really shouldn't have talked about the guy or said anything, because he's just inviting responses, and so he got a response. So Claptrap's voice actor continues, I ultimately offered to do it for free, so there probably is a half-truth in both of them. I wouldn't be surprised if Gearbox originally or at the beginning offered 2 times scale, and they negotiated, and he ultimately offered to do it for quote free in exchange for past royalties owed plus an apology for something I've never spoken about publicly until now. Okay, so past royalties owed means he should probably be in a lawsuit and suing them right now, but he isn't. And this does paint a bit of a picture of the Claptrap voice actor allowing illegal activity to be perpetrated upon himself and not taking the appropriate legal steps. Is that uncommon? Absolutely not. People throughout the United States get their rights violated and have criminal activity done upon them all the time, and they don't have the money or the desire to follow up in a civil or criminal court. But it does speak to the problem here of any allegations, and the problem of allegations in general is that there's little corroborating evidence and little reason to believe allegations. So he continues, something I've never spoke about until publicly now. Randy physically assaulted me. Now, if this is the legal definition of assault, that means he actually hit him. It's not battery that he grabbed him, pushed him, shoved him. It means he would have punched him or kicked him or bit him or something like that. Physically assaulted me in the lobby of the Marriott Marquis at GDC 2017. Now, I looked up GDC's website and their Twitter feed. They have not responded to this allegation whatsoever. GDC is owned by the same parent company that owns Gamma Sutra, which also hasn't, so far as I can see, put out any comment here, but it would definitely be beneficial to say we take our visitors, our patrons, security very carefully, and we are investigating this at the very least. If GDC came out and said there were no complaints made, or there were no witnesses came forth to this action, that is a problem. There's if this really is just a case that the two of them were in the lobby, I kind of imagine in my head that this is Randy Pitch, if this really happened at all, which is an if, certainly. It sounds believable, but due process and innocent until proven guilty and all of that.
Jaina versus Jaina.
If this happened, I imagine it was because he was drunk or under the influence of some kind of drug, which I wouldn't be surprised about that either. But that's really all the details that are said. It's just this one sentence, and Gearbox has a response to that they're investigating it, but they have no comment, basically. And of course, Gearbox, owned by Randy Pitchford, is going to have no comment, and they can investigate all they want. It's just going to be a he said situation unless there's other people around. And the problem here is, unless there were people around Eddings and Pitchford throughout the entirety of the GDC 2017 event, it's kind of impossible to line up a timeline with that, unless of course also the Marriott Marquis has video footage of their hallway or their lobby from 2017, which the odds that they would still have video footage of their lobby from 2 years ago seems unlikely. Although being in the lobby and not a hallway, I guess there is a decent chance that there would be an employee behind the counter who would have seen all of this. The weird thing though is also a man assaulting another man in a lot of places in the United States is not treated the same way. The police don't want to bother to investigate it. They don't want to file criminal charges, even if it is on video footage. There's an incident of a YouTuber who was assaulted, just punched in the back of the head because of his for his political leanings, basically, and they had him on camera after punching the guy in the head, punching a bar that they had ran in and locked the door and breaking the glass, and the bar didn't want to press charges because bars never want to involve the cops, even though they broke the glass, and the police didn't want to pursue it. And so this person who was sucker punched in the back of the head, whether you agree with his politics or not, is now stuck with having to try to pursue a civil court case through Patreon because he can't afford a lawyer, as far as I can tell, for as expensive as they are, any more than anyone else. And yeah, the justice system in the United States can be very, very broken. Moving on with the comment, personally I think Randy's been on tilt for the last few years. Seems true. I would argue that he's been on tilt ever since the lawsuit of alien colonial marines, and it's just gotten worse and worse. He's not the victim he portrays himself to be. I even blocked him a couple years for stalking me on social media. Enough is enough. Stalking me on social media, though, I mean, somebody followed you on social media, you didn't want them following you, you blocked them. I don't know how you rise to the level of a legal claim of stalking there. Your profiles on those social media sites were obviously public. You would have to, unless he was actively catfishing and pretending to be somebody else so that he could follow you and stalk you. But I wouldn't also be surprised if Gearbox is kind of litigious post the fact and they're trying to find reasons to sue ex-employees by colloquially stalking people, former employees. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that is very much in part their goal.
Someday I'll be just like you.
No problem.
Do that. The statement continues. It's nice not feeling the need to spot any sleight of hand these days, or wonder if the card was chosen or forced. This is a reference to Randy Pitchford being a magician, but also I think it is an allegation that Randy Pitchford almost certainly uses magician techniques to trick and lie to employees and manipulate stories and events. Basically gaslight employees into agreeing with him or going along with him. It continues, I'm happy to be free of the half-truths and full-on deceptions, and thankful to no longer hear people referred to as, quote, muggles, like a con man refers to a mark. Which, muggles, I believe, is from Harry Potter. But I think maybe Harry Potter stole the phrase from magicians, and I'm just not aware of that.
Brain overload.
But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Randy Pitchford thinks most people are too stupid to realize that he's lying, and the truth of the matter seems to be pretty obvious that that's not the case, as every video game journalist site out there is pretty much aware and saying directly that he is lying in many instances. Oh, this sucks. And there's no reason to play that. It continues as an aside. It seems a bit conspicuous that he chimed in on my salary, but doesn't mention anything about the $12 million in revenue he siphoned away from the employee royalty pool. So Randy Pitchford described this employee as a disgruntled, bitter former employee, and I think that probably is true. But how do you get a disgruntled, bitter former employee? It's because the company treated him bad. And in this case, it's not even really the company. It seems it's just Randy Pitchford, the CEO. It continues, for your information, Gearbox employees are asked to take lower salaries with the promise of royalty shares. 2K says they won't give a statement regarding an ongoing lawsuit, but if the allegation is false, then it sure seems a lot easier to just deny it, since that's the only reason they're mentioned. The whole thing stinks. So then the response here from Gearbox is, Gearbox takes any and all claims of this nature very seriously, and we will abstain from commenting on the allegations Dave Eddings, I guess Dave is his first name, is making, because it is a personal matter. I don't think it's a personal matter so much as it's both personal and professional. When a CEO assaults anyone, the CEO represents the company, in all actions and all activities. Bill Gates can't go on a wild drunken spree and assault somebody and that not affect the way Microsoft is looked upon. And Bill Gates doesn't even run Microsoft anymore. There should in establishing a good company, there probably should be a morals clause in a CEO and hire employees, forward-facing employees that get on stages, contracts. And if there was some sort of morals clause in Randy Pitchford's contract, he's almost certainly violated it in one instance or another. Let's see. This
Just like you.
and this, and then this, and in turn. The Gearbox comment continues. We appreciate David's contributions to the Borderlands franchise and have continued to assert we would welcome him back in the mix as a voice of Claptrap and other future opportunities. They refrained from commenting on the $12 million accusation, which seems almost impossible to argue that didn't happen. Let's see.
What to do?
I want this. I guess I want this. There we go. And then David Ennings tweeted back. I mean, this is really just a lot of back and forth at this point. Glad to hear Gearbox officials taking the claim very seriously, as I'm eager to cooperate with whatever independent firm Gearbox 2K chooses for the ongoing investigating into Randy's misdeeds, which should be fairly easy to conclude. Hashtag apologies matter. Like, his claim that he just wants apologies and him only bringing this up after Randy Pitchford poked the bear is, I think, gives him a little bit of credibility. If this was more of a coordinated effort to take down Randy Pitchford, I think more people would be making wilder and more likely to be false allegations. That doesn't really feel like that's happening. This doesn't feel like a Kick Vic Mignogna style attack. It feels like Randy Pitchford really is at fault for a lot of things. Maybe not all the things, but a lot of things. Just go ahead and do that. I don't see how Gearbox, though, would ever hire an independent firm to investigate or do any real investigating at all. Another related incident in all the controversy is pictures related recently said of another voice actor in reply to a query, why didn't Troy Baker return as Rhys, R-H-Y-S? I believe he is a character from Tales from the Borderlands series. But he is being moved and integrated into the broader Borderlands world. And Randy Pitchford once again responding when he should just, somebody should take his phone away. It's like Trump, just take away his Twitter account, take away his phone. He responded, You'll have to ask Troy. I was told by the audio director that he turned it down. Fortunately, with how Rise appears in the game, I don't think it actually matters at all. So you'll see for yourself when the game comes out, and you may disagree with me or not. Which almost implies that Rise is going to be a playable character with very few voice actors, or he's going to be shot immediately and killed. So that it won't matter because of that.
Aha! Aha!
Okay. Freeze a minion.
Aha!
Freeze another minion.
Aha!
Attack here.
More souls! Get down!
Attack here. Attack here. And then Troy Baker tweets back. Troy Baker, being a real voice actor who probably does have an agent, tweets back, had tweeted, somebody asked him, are you reprising the role of Rise in Borderlands 3? Would love to. What do you say at Gearbox Official? And I don't know if they have the Twitter here. Let's see. In a recent exclusive interview with the YouTube channel, Troy Baker hit back against Pitchford's statement, suggesting he should fact check before tweeting. So, yeah, Rise is the main guy, I suppose. Although I guess I'm more partial to that. But also, wasn't Rise in part under control of the ghost of Handsome Jack? So I wouldn't be surprised if it's just the voice of Handsome Jack throughout the entirety of the game. And he's actually the secret bad guy. And that would be kind of annoying, quite frankly. Alright, I just need to play rogue cards. So let's just play. And geez, it feels like we've gone an hour just to catch up and tell the story over and over again. And that's one of the problems I have with like main daily news, 24-hour news, is that you often are just saying the exact same story over and over again and adding one sentence or two sentences. Giant Bomb had to go over all of this again this week on the Bombcast. It's just like every week, instead of talking about why Borderlands 3 is awesome or a good game or just a better version of Borderlands 2, which is what Boogie2998 said, which is fine, if that's what you want for Borderlands, and that probably is what most Borderlands fans want, is just more Borderlands 2. There's some weirdness there, certainly, of just having to repeat the same story over and over again, and have these be the things that are being talked about instead of the quality of the game being talked about. I suppose it might be an interesting experiment to think about what would the world be like if Randy Pitchford was just fired right now. Like, let's see. Like, if they just said, okay, we're gonna get rid of Randy Pitchford, he's totally out of the picture, or I imagine what you would more likely do if 2K could somehow exert enough force, and the employees could somehow exert enough force to get Randy Pitchford to just go silent and take a sabbatical, would that really make fans of the Borderlands series more happy with the game and more likely to buy it? Not really. It's really just more of a case of it stopped the bleeding. I would say fans would definitely be a lot happier if it stopped being a Epic Store exclusive. That would convince a lot of people to swing back and buy it and pre-order it. But yeah, even if Randy Pitchford took a sabbatical, I think there would still be too much fear that he wouldn't stop tweeting and he wouldn't stay out of the limelight, and he would just come back and cause more drama at the next game that comes out, if there is a next game, which is kind of questionable, certainly, about, you know, it's possible that if Borderlands 3 doesn't sell well, that's the end of Gearbox. It's possible that even if Borderlands 3 is the best-selling game ever, that might be the end of Gearbox, because it's really not logical that 2K would have them make Borderlands 4 or whatever next. If I was 2K, I'd be like, oh, we're gonna just acquire another company and we're just gonna let some other company make the next game in the series. We cannot work with Randy anymore. Not when he's pulled us into lawsuits, not when he's caused all this drama. It's not good for the investors, it's not good for the bottom line. Moving on, Gamasutra has an article. Supercell invests $3.8 million into the Swedish game Luau Games. So
We must band together, united.
Let's see. Luau Games was co-founded by the former King staffers, and I'm not going to try and pronounce these names because they're Swedish. They both worked as art directors for Candy Crush at the Candy Crush maker company. Let's see, Luau Games has only worked on one now defunct game to date, 15-strong team of employees. Supercell thinks that they can do something more. And frankly, Supercell, I suspect, needs a bit of a win in the fashion of adding more content for Clash Royale. I guess slight update to my Clash Royale experience. Nothing has happened. Being in the new clan, they don't talk much, and frankly, I talked a lot because I was reposting the same rules over and over again as a clan co-leader. So it was weird when the clan war ended, and I'm just so used to being able to just click the button and like click that button and have a start a new clan war, and I couldn't do that because I'm not a co-leader at this new clan, so I just had to wait, and yeah, an hour later they started a new clan war, so not a big deal. I would be willing to be a co-leader if I was just going to be in charge of starting new clan wars, but asking to be a co-leader as somebody who hasn't even been in the clan for a week is stupid and probably going to get me kicked more than anything else. But yeah, there's not been any other real changes. Everybody's doing a lot of tradings, and I'm doing a lot better, and playing Clan Wars is way easier now because they're actually unlocking cards that you can actually play with, compared to previous instances where it was a case of of barely having anything.
The doctor is in.
Let's see. That you could do. Let's see. I'm trying to get something to charge, and I'm not finding anything, unfortunately. If I could get another one of these, I could win next turn. Let's just end the turn. So, yeah, almost a unimportant update as far as Clash Royale. It's just, yeah, that's happening. I'm still playing the game and I'm having a fine experience with it. I'm also playing Destiny Child. I've hit, I think I jumped with that game from the early game to the mid game very quickly, because if you just leave the game auto running, you can level up and collect almost all the games, all the childs, the gacha anime girls, with some anime guys too. You can collect them all pretty quickly in less than 30 days because the game is relatively new. And I did find that there was one section called the Underworld Battle that apparently I missed that, so I can't do the expert version of it. Well, I can do the expert version, but I can't do the version above expert that's called the Kiwami version. Oh, I was just playing rogue cards, so that I didn't really need to win, but I'll take the victory regardless. But yeah, now I feel like I'm in the late game. I have a lot of 3-level characters that are max XP, ready to be evolved up to 4-level characters. I still have some 2-level characters that need to be leveled up to 3-level characters, and I have a lot of 4-level and 5-level characters that need to be evolved. So it's going to become this, I think, I don't know how you best describe this, but recursive, that's the phrase. It's going to become this recursive situation where I'm going to have to get a lot of 3-level minions, get them up to max level, so then I can evolve them using other 3-level minions to be 4-level minions. And once I evolve them to 4-level minions, I'm going to use those now evolved 4-level minions to evolve 4-level minions up to 5-level, trying to get everything up to 6-level, which will take an extremely long amount of time, and very possibly I haven't gotten a feel of it yet, but it does feel that it's very possible and likely that it will never really be a situation where you can get everything up to 6th level. But I really only need... There are 8 teams you can make, and each of those 8 teams have 5 slots, so I really only need 40 6-level max characters, and the top, and it's probably a lot less than even that because of the way the systems are built. There are certainly some characters that are way more powerful and always going to be way more powerful. So a low level 1-star minion, even evolved to a level 6, is probably not going to be more powerful than a 5-star minion that got evolved to level 6. Moving on, first game we have on Steam here is a bunch of Asian characters VR. It's called Pupil Wandering VR. It looks like it's a Japanese horror VR game, and when you look at the screenshots, you don't see much, but I was watching the trailer here, and so it seems like it might be worth a follow as a VR game. Like, the artistry here looks rather good, but this might just be a cutscene too. and so this may not be what the real experience is. Yeah, I guess you're probably playing as this girl wandering around, and I don't know if the graphics are particularly good or not. It probably looks better than most VR horror games though. It's $8.39 and it's English and Chinese. I'll give this one a chance, even though good chance that it's not actually that good.
Justice is mine.
Hit this.
Give me a quest.
And in return. Xbox One has a game that came out called My Big Sister, which this is a game I've never heard of before. It says it's an RPG adventure game. Like, this is a weird game, a weird indie looking game that I've never heard of, so either it didn't come to PC or it did come to PC and it was a long time ago, or I missed it somehow otherwise. Okay, can we do this?
I wonder.
This, and then this, and then this, and then this.
The Brotherhood shall prevail. Job done.
Okay, that worked. Steam has another game, Puyo Puyo Champions. This is Puyo Puyo Tetris, similar to Tetris, or very similar. But is it a multiplayer only game? It's $9.99. It has some single player content. It's third-party EULA. I'll put this on the fall list, but I probably could just throw it on the wish list actually. It's already got enough positive reviews. I guess I did start playing a new game instead of doing the follow list cleanup, but that was the plan. I was going to do at least the Halloween stuff first, and the real question is how many series am I going to do for Halloween. It's looking like I'll probably do at least 3 series. I think for Halloween also we're going to change the time schedule. I've been trying for a year at releasing things at 45 minutes on the hour. I think we're going to move everything down to 30 minutes on the hour, just as a system of
Justice is mine.
just as a way of ensuring that that maybe I'll get some more views. I really didn't get any new views or more views by releasing at 45 minutes on the hour. Maybe I should go, instead of doing 30 minutes on the hour, maybe I should go back to on the hour times, but I don't think that's what I'm going to try. I think I'm going to keep on experimenting for another year. Yeah. In all honesty, the reason why I'm not getting views probably has very little to do with
Time's up. Let's do this.
with the time that it comes out.
Justice is mine.
Job's done.
Moving on, the next big story is the Riot Games walkout, which we were talking about on Monday, and I said we were going to have more evidence. There's a lot of stories here, and I don't know, but a lot of them may not be updated. So Riot Game Sutra has this article, Riot Games walkout sees 150 developers protest to walk out to protest forced arbitration, which Riot Games has said they would get rid of arbitration for new employees after the current lawsuits are finished, which I think their lawyers are probably telling them that's the best you can do. And quite frankly, it probably is the best you can do. because you're trying to prevent your company from getting sued into oblivion.
This guy's toast.
Now, a lot of these websites, like Gamasutra, is kind of SJW and pro developers, so they're going to put this in a good light. Now, here's the thing that, in digging deeper with this, is from what I've heard from my sources, which aren't any real sources, it's just from other people who've covered the story a little bit better. The Riot walkout was looking to get 15% of the employee base to walk out. They were specifically saying no pictures unless someone tells you that they can take pictures. That way there won't be any reprisals or rebuttals for people who participated in the walkout. And Riot Games said, and said is about all you can really respond to in this situation, they claimed that they weren't going to take any retaliatory actions against people who participated in the walkout. So there's no pictures, very little evidence that anybody walked out at all. But let's assume that the 150 number is only slightly averaged up. Let's say it was actually 138 and they rounded it up to 150. Fair enough, in a little bit of Riot employees rounding that up. It doesn't matter. Even if it was slightly over 150, their stated goal was 15% of the employee base, which 15% is hardly a majority. It's not 5-0, it's 1-5 percentage that they were going. And their stated amount of what 15% of the employee base was 500 employees. So I think anybody who can do math and does basic mathematics, algebra, can tell you that if you're shooting for 500 and you get 150, that's a major failure and not a success. Now, you can certainly give reasons for that. This is also a great example of why what they should have done is gone through the procedures of forming an actual union, and then when you have a union that's been established, there's rules, there's groups like that know how to do these things properly. A good strong union would have gotten 500 employees to walk out. They probably wouldn't ever use 500 employees to strike at the same time in any industry, because they would more prefer to have strikes go 24/7 and break people up in shifts. But yeah, they really should have gone the union route first, formed a union, and then had a walkout. And even this walkout isn't really about forming a union, so you're in this weird position. So if 500% of the employees, if 15% of the employees is 500, then we can, let's see, how would we, if we multiply 500 by 15%, that would give us 90, no, wait, 15. So do they have about 7,000 employees?
Quickly.
Is that the calculation? About 7,000 associate level? I may be doing the math wrong. It doesn't matter. Roughly 150 would be less than 5%. It would be 4, 3%. If I had a calculator in front of me, I could get the real percentages. We've seen layoffs at Activision Blizzard of 3%. You could easily lay off 3%. You could easily lay off all 150 of these employees tomorrow, and it wouldn't be a big deal. I'm not saying they should do that. I'm not saying that's the fair thing to do. I'm not saying that that's the good PR thing to do. But what I will point out is this was not a stand for good solidarity amongst the associate employees. Let's see. If I brought this back and it cost 2 less, unfortunately I wouldn't have enough to play it again.
That's incredible.
So yeah, the Riot Games walkout, not effective. They're not effective in the fact that there seems to be really no leadership there. There seems to be no organization there. There seems to be no strong, good messaging other than we don't like these arbitration clauses, which they're just never going to get any budge on that at all. So yeah, as if I was a manager at Riot, I would just slowly start firing all those employees and retaliating, quite frankly. That would be the way to go, because those people are just gonna fall under that nebulous claim of not being good team players and not being a good fit with the company.
Justice is mine.
Let's see. Like, that is certainly the danger of doing walkouts or any kind of activity, is that if a union goes on strike, usually the union has at least 50% of the employees, if not most of the associate level employees in the union. So if they go on strike, everybody leaves at the exact same time. You've just put the ball in the court of Riot to take their time to lay off people.
This guy's tough.
Like 1 week you can lay off a couple, you could lay off 10 people, the next week you could lay off another 10 people, you could start hiring pretty quickly to replace them. You could start a new office that doesn't have any talk about the other things happening at all. Yeah, that would be how I do it. I just start a new office. Start a new office with 150 new employees, the new hires, and then slowly 6 months down the line lay off 150 employees or more.
I got the best deals.
It probably would be more, quite frankly,
Justice
just
is
so it doesn't
mine.
look like retaliation. Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article, get a job. Fox Next Games is looking for a senior character artist. This in San Jose, California. What is Fox Next working on? I'm trying to remember. Yeah. I have no idea. No, not right now, at least. See, we barely covered any news because we've covered all the big stories, and it's taken an hour for that. Gamma Sutra has another story. EA Access is launching on the PlayStation 4. Interesting questions to be asked, certainly, about EA Access being on the PS4. Does that mean they somehow figured out a way for PS3 games from EA to be backward compatible and available to play on the PS4? Or does it just mean that if you have EA Access on the PS4, you can get early access and access to free games? Let's see. Let's play this. again.
I just want some peace and quiet!
Okay.
Double time and
Just go
double
ahead and do that. Yep. I haven't ever reevaluated whether our EA access would be something of a good deal. Frankly, it just takes things off of Steam as a third-party storefront service. So, like, from what I hear, EA access probably is a lot better than it was originally. No duh, that should be the case. But I still don't think you would want EA access unless it was on top of several other services, or just having like Xbox Live and getting free games through that is probably a better deal. Just start off with. TechCraft has an article. Pokemon Go gets a Detective Pikachu special event. Also, apparently, Pokemon Go players picked up trash for Earth Day, so you get these Detective Pikachu hats, I think, and maybe some characters. I heard some more story on the Minecraft augmented reality game. Apparently it is kind of just a Pokemon Go clone. I don't know how that's really gonna work, but it seems like you're gonna have animals and pigs digging for you, but there's definitely not 300 different varieties of animals from Minecraft, and I don't think they're gonna add 300 different varieties of animals. You could have different pigs with different skins, but even that's not reflected in actual Minecraft. All pigs that are shown in Minecraft, I believe, are pure pink skinned pigs, and no blotches, no splotches of black or white as pigs sometimes have. So we didn't really get through any of the news, but we got through all the daily quests. I still, like, where are we at this point? Like, we are over a week in to the main account, and I still need 4 more ranked victories, and I may just at the end of the month have to play really carefully to make sure I have 4 ranked victories, because of the daily quests we've been getting just being really difficult and annoying. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. We'll switch over to the European account. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.